Okay, back to the dinim of Yom Kippur. Okay, so we discussed already the night of Yom Kippur with the putting on the talis before sundown. Okay, the chazan, everybody wears a talis the night of Yom Kippur, but obviously when you say Shema the night of Yom Kippur, you don't say, you don't hold your tzitzis by your tzitzis, and you don't kiss the tzitzis at night. Now, when we say Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leil Voed and Shema Yom Kippur, you say it out loud. Now, why do we say? Understanding the reason why we say it quietly a whole year, we can understand why Yom Kippur we say it out loud. There's two reasons. It says in Halacha why we say normally during the year we say Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leil Voed quietly. Number one, Chazal say that when Yaakov Avinu on his deathbed wanted to bless his children, and the Shechina left him, and he thought that something is spiritually wrong with the children, so the children said to Yaakov, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Your God is our God, we're good. So when Yaakov Avinu heard that, he said, Baruch Shem Kaved Malchus Leil Voed. So now the Gemara discusses, should we say it or shouldn't we say it? Should we say it because Yaakov Avinu said it? We shouldn't say it because it's not in the Chumash. If you look in the Torah, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. In fact, we learned that in the first base of Midrash, the Taka didn't say Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leil Voed. So the discussion is, do we say it or don't we? So because of that reason, the Gemara says we say it quietly. You know, we say it because Yaakov Avinu said it, but we don't say it loud to show that it's not actually from the Chumash. That's reason number one. Reason number two is when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai to get the Torah, he was in Angelsville for 40 days. So Moshe Rabbeinu heard the angels saying, Baruch Shem Kaved Malchus Leil Voed. Moshe Rabbeinu liked it, so he stole it from the angels. He stole it. He came back down to earth with that sentence, Baruch Shem Kaved Malchus Leil Voed. So the problem is, the Gemara says, that you don't publicize stolen goods. Moshe Rabbeinu, so to speak, stole it from the angels. So you're going to say the Baruch Shem out loud. You basically say, hey, look, I stole this. But Yom Kippur, we're all like angels. We're all like malachim. We don't eat, we don't drink, we're just like angels. So therefore, on Yom Kippur, we say Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leil Voed out loud. So that's why the minig is, bottom line is, you say Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leil Voed. Okay, after Ma'ariv, there's 4 kapitlach of Tilim that we say. And then our custom is, we say the whole Tilim publicly. I mean, after Ma'ariv and Kol Nidrei, after everybody leaves, our minig gives to say it's a Levush, they bring down the Levush, says, but the Rebbe, in fact, the first year, the Rebbe was Rabbi, he went over to the Yomid and said Tilim. But then it didn't happen anymore. So our minig is we say with a minion the whole Tilim. If there's people need to say Kaddish, they say Kaddish. You know, in that whole thing. Okay, now what's forbidden on Yom Kippur? To go into the details of what's forbidden on Yom Kippur, one, it's a line. The Torah says by Yom Kippur the expression Ta'anu es nafshei seichem. You should afflict your souls. Part of the atonement process is if we suffer a little bit, you know, that causes us to do tshuva, and we do tshuva. But the Torah says clearly, you're not allowed to eat or drink. In fact, if somebody eats or drinks on Yom Kippur, the punishment is kares. Not fasting on Yom Kippur, the punishment is kares. Same thing like eating chametz on Pesach, the same thing of relations with a woman who's nida. All these things are what's called chayiv kares. So, eating and drinking, basically the Torah says clearly you're not allowed to do. That punishment is, as the Torah says, that soul will be cut off. They get the punishment of kares. In addition to that, the Chachamim also forbid washing. We'll discuss each one of the details. Smearing, meaning anointing yourself with perfumes, oils, and things like that. And marital relations. And not wearing shoes, leather shoes. Okay, these are the 5 things that you're not allowed to do on Yom Kippur: eating and drinking, washing, smearing yourself, shoes, eating and drinking is one, by the way, and marital relations. Now, anything that's forbidden to do on Shabbos is forbidden to do on Yom Kippur. Like your Yom Tif, you're allowed to carry. Yom Kippur, if there's no Erev. Yom Kippur is like Shabbos, you're not allowed to carry. So, not only that, but you have to add on, the Gemara also learns out from a pasuk, that you have to add on a little bit at the beginning of Yom Kippur and a little bit at the end of Yom Kippur. Okay, so now, what is considered eating and drinking on Yom Kippur? Eating and drinking on Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to eat any amount. Even a drop of water, a drop of food is biblically forbidden. You don't get kares unless if you drink a certain amount and you eat a certain amount. But any amount, because the Gemara says chotzi shiur, half of the amount is biblically forbidden. For instance, during the year, in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, if somebody ate chazer and they were warned by witnesses, they would get lashes, 39 lashes. How much chazer do you need to eat to get lashes, or meat and milk together, whatever it is? You need to eat a kazayas. Kazayas is 1 ounce. What happens if somebody eats a half an ounce of chazer? So then the din is, it's biblically forbidden. You transgress the biblical sin, but you don't get punished, because you didn't eat enough to be punishable, but it's still forbidden. Even half of malacha is still biblically forbidden and any malacha. So therefore, any amount of eating or drinking, even eating something and spitting it out, even though you're not swallowing it, it's still biblically forbidden. Even if you know for sure, I'm not going to swallow it, it's still biblically forbidden. You're not allowed to eat or drink it. Now, if somebody is sick, God forbid, or a woman just gave birth to a baby within 3 days of Yom Kippur, and people that have deathly ill situations, so then they're allowed to eat, but they have to eat in certain amounts. Now, and in order to explain this din, it's important to understand the concept, because then things make sense. When the Torah says you're not allowed to eat a certain food, or the Torah says you have to eat matzah. So we know in Pesach we learned that when the Torah says you need to eat a kazayas of matzah, 1 ounce of matzah, it has to be eaten in a certain time frame. If somebody takes 20 minutes to eat a piece of matzah, he did not fulfill the mitzvah of matzah, because that's not called eating. Eating is X amount within X amount of time. That's called eating. Drinking is also drinking. When is drinking? Within a certain framework of time. First, you have to drink 4 cups of wine. So you have to drink 3 ounces. Yeah? Or more than half of 3 ounces. But you have to drink in a certain amount of time. If it's going to take you longer, you're going to sip a little bit of wine, and it's going to take you 20 minutes to drink a cup of wine, you didn't do the mitzvah. The same thing in forbidden things. In order to get lashes for eating chazer, you need to eat 1 ounce of chazer within a certain time frame. If it's more than that time frame, it's forbidden, we learned biblically, but you still cannot get punished. Okay? What's the time frame for eating b'chlal? What is called eating? In what time frame do you have to eat to do a mitzvah, or for the opposite side, to get an aveda which is punishable? So the Gemara says it's b'chdei achilas pras, the amount of time it takes to eat 3 eggs. Plus literally half of 6 eggs, which is 3 eggs. So in order to be chayiv, or to be yetzer the mitzvah of matzah, or maror, or anything else like that, you have to eat it within the amount of time it takes to eat 3 eggs. Now, how much is that in time? So in halacha, you have wide-ranging opinions. It ranges from 2 minutes to 11 minutes. which is a very, very big difference in time. So generally speaking, it's 4 to 6 minutes. That's what they accept, like a compromise. 4 to 6 minutes is the amount of time that you need to eat something to fulfill the mitzvah of matzah, or in order to be called eating on Yom Kippur, that you would get punishable by Kodesh, you would have to eat the Geregeris, which is less than a kibetza, which is a kibetza is 2 ounces, what's called Geregeris. It has to be less than 2 ounces. How much less than 2 ounces, again, is a big argument in Halacha. Another thing which is important to know, in all eating laws, eating and drinking don't combine. That means if somebody eats, let's say, a half a kazayas of cake and a half of revius of orange juice. Now together you might have a kazayas between the food and the drink, but they don't combine. If they don't combine, you can't make an after bracha. The same thing when it comes to eating on Yom Kippur, eating and drinking don't combine. Now, eating, we said, is amount of a kegregeris. It's like a date, but it's less than 2 ounces. Drinking, how much is called drinking on Yom Kippur? It says, kemole rugmav, a cheekful of every person judged individually. That means, if you have, not figuratively, literally a big mouth, you could drink more on Yom Kippur without being punished than somebody that has a small mouth. Now, by an average person, that is majority of a revius. Majority of 3 ounces. That's how much moli lugmav is. So therefore, in case where people need to eat on Yom Kippur, for health reasons, that they have a very serious health issue, not stam, you have a cold. Because the only time you're allowed to fast in Yom Kippur if it's a life-endangering situation. So pregnant women have to fast, nursing women have to fast, people have to fast. What happens if somebody needs to eat on Yom Kippur? So again, you try to minimize the amount of sin possible. So therefore, just in a practical level, they can have 1 ounce of food, which is less than the geregeris. They can have 1 ounce of liquid, and they should preferably wait 9 minutes. So they can have drink and food together, because they don't combine, right? So you can have 1 ounce of food. You can really technically be more, but let's just round it off to the nearest, the easiest number. You can have 1 ounce of food, 1 ounce of drink, wait 9 minutes, do it again, and again, and again, as often as you need to survive.
Why did we have regarding a trufa, that you wrap it with something dry or a lettuce or something and you take it instead of liquid? Is there something like that? I remember the trufa, somebody is not supposed to take medicine, so if they can take the liquid within 9 minutes, why do they take the trufa with the liquid?
Because if the liquid is treif, any amount of treif is treif.
No,
Now, 1 second.
Medicine.
Liquid could also be trufa. Medicine could be liquid medicine. If you don't believe me, ask this guy. Now, there's a din in halacha that if you swallow something without chewing it, you just swallow it, it's not called eating. That's issue number 1. Issue number 2, if you want to be machmir, because it says in halacha bal nefesh yachmir, in Shulchan Aruch, so by wrapping it in, let's say in a little paper, let's say you have a capsule. Let's say it's a gelatin capsule, correct? So gelatin is not kosher. So halachically, you can swallow a gelatin capsule without any problem because you're not chewing it. It's not liquid that you're tasting. It's not chewable that you're tasting. You swallow it. Some people that want to be machmir would wrap it in a piece of paper. Why? Because then the treif is not even going down your throat. It's not touching even your throat. Treif is eating, not what goes into your stomach. That means halachically, if you have a feeding tube through the stomach, halachically, you could be fed treif for food. Maybe kabbalistically, but halachically, it's not called eating treif. Because eating treif is the normal way of eating it. So if you swallow it, especially if it's wrapped in something, so the treif is not even touching your throat, then it's not an issue.